Use it or lose it, the show will be getting to all of the action of what's big in the rugby world. And of course, at the moment, nothing bigger than the Rugby World Cup. We'll cover some of this weekend's action that's just taken place, including, of course, the South Africa match against Italy on Friday. We'll look ahead to tomorrow, where South Africa take on Canada, discuss the team there, and just generally have a discussion around the World Cup as to who's in a position to make the Final Four, which are the teams that have impressed the panel. We do at the moment have two gentlemen in studio with me. We are expecting a third, the yellow cap, to possibly come at some point. Monday night's always a big rush for him. But let's go over and introduce the panel now. And I'm going to start with Couch Critic, Hindemont. Couch, good to have you back on the show.
How's it, Brent? Thanks, man. Always good to be here. And I can't believe we've been talking about this World Cup for so long. And here we are in the last week of the group stages.
That's it. I've got to tell you, Couch, for me, I haven't been able to watch nearly as much World Cup rugby as I thought I would. But is it fair to say it hasn't quite been? I mean, the atmosphere and that's all great, but as far as the rugby goes, it hasn't really been the spectacle that many would have hoped for.
Yeah, Brendan, it's strange. It's almost like we all kind of call this kind of setup where the humidity was always going to be tough for some of the handling and really making it a spectacle. And then we always knew that some of the refereeing decisions might be cause a bit of a stir, and everything on that front has materialized. And at least I think there's still been the drama. So maybe not the excitement, but definitely the tension and the drama.
Yeah, there certainly has been plenty of drama. Let's introduce Judge Rugby now. Judge, thanks for making it. I know you had to scramble to make the show tonight, but good to have you on. How did you find the weekend's rugger? Judge, you muted there at the moment. I think you muted yourself.
Am I winning?
No, there we go. You're back.
Yeah, my bad. So yeah, thanks very much for having me again. Yeah, the weekend was good. I think there's been some really good and interesting matchups. Obviously, there's been a few upsets and stuff like that. So I think it's been good. But to be fair, like during the pool stages, if everything goes according to plan, it's a little bit boring anyway. So there's only one pool of death, and it's been good fun, and looking forward to the knockouts though.
Yeah, certainly I am looking forward to the knockout rugby. As you know, I'm a bit of a betting man, and I've sort of put the feet up for now. Things haven't really gone, as Couch said, it's actually gone exactly as I expected, but somehow I found a way of betting differently, and I've found myself in a bit of trouble. So I've sort of put the feet up now and saying, let's bring on the quarterfinals. Looking forward to that. Also looking forward to some of the big games that are still to come, of course, like Japan v Scotland, which is effectively going to be like a last 16 encounter. So can't wait for that one. And Couch, at this point, though, let me hand over to you. I'm going to stay in here as a guest. I didn't get to watch all of the games, but wherever I can, I'll contribute. But I'll leave the two of you guys as well to have a bit of a chat, and we'll see if Yellow Cap joins us.
Cheers, thanks, Brent. Yeah, Yellow Cap said he's going to be in 5 to 10, so I'm sure he'll catch up. Maybe let's leave the Bok discussion until he comes on board. I'm sure he's going to be passionately involved in that one. Sean, let me start you off with who you think has impressed. One game pretty much to go in this group stage for most teams. Who's disappointed a little bit, and who to you is looking solid?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer to say that Japan have impressed. They've really knuckled down and done the business. They're looking really good, and the discussion we had last week was about Japan and how we don't feel that they're going to do the business, but it's only because of our opinion of Japan in the past, and they've really put a lot of work and effort in. So they've been pretty handy. I think from a South African point of view, I think South Africa have been up and down, but I think we're starting to gain a bit of momentum. Like, we've got a very clear understanding of who's first choice and second choice in terms of the sides, but I think what Rusty's done really well is make sure that the guys getting enough game time to push through. So if we need them, they're actually not going to be too not match ready. I think it's probably the best way of putting it. If you look at Pool A, I think Scotland have been probably the biggest disappointment. They're still in with a bit of a shout, but I think Japan are in such a good space at the moment. And I think Ireland we mentioned before the tournament, they're probably like 6-8 months short. It's quite a weird space, but I think Japan are definitely the top group there. In Pool B, New Zealand, South Africa, I think we pretty much set we need to get a bonus point tomorrow against Canada, and then if Italy get any points out of the New Zealand game, they've done well. And then the England, France, Argentina in Pool C, it's quite interesting.
Sean, if I can just quickly stop you there, just to go back to A and B, just on Ireland losing to Japan there, and do you think it's definitely race round Ireland quarterfinals the best they can do, or do you think there's something extra in the tank that they could pull out for someone like Brent Graham who's on the Northern Hemisphere team to win the comp?
He's on a massive Northern Hemisphere train, and I think that puppy derailed a while ago. I think England are his best shots. But the thing is Ireland, all the big sides, the tier 1 sides, they need a bit of momentum to get the love back, and I struggle to find where Ireland are going to get that momentum, and that's. So they're playing Samoa this weekend. They need to win. They need a bonus point to really make sure that they're sorted in quarterfinals. I don't think they're going to miss out in the quarterfinals, but are they going to put a good enough performance against Samoa to kick on and start working? And with the weather coming in, the hurricane or whatever's coming in, like they're under a bit of pressure. Like they're going to be a little bit worried about that. And there are a number of things that are concerning for them. The lineouts are a big concern, and their front row, like their scrum wise, they're not as dominant as they used to be, which is huge. And they're still trying to work out what's happening in the midfield. So I know I'm fairly confident that Bundy Archie and Gary Ringrose are their 12-13 combo. But like I think when it comes to where Sexton is as a player currently, I think they're struggling there, and Conor Murray, and that's where they're not really working so well together. I think between 12, 13, and 15, they're pretty much sorted, and the wingers, Keith Earls is going to play, and I just don't think that they've got enough time to get their shit together. Excuse me, but I don't know how else to put it. But like I don't think they've got enough time to sort it and gain momentum. So there will be a contest in the quarterfinals, but I think you can get in their head easily and roll them if you stick to your game plan.
To me, it's strange to almost if you dissect their game plan, it's almost like there's nothing wrong with Irish rugby. They're strong enough in the pack. They decent line out. They know their game. They know their shortcomings, but it's almost like that Japanese game. They were just flat, standing there, passing it from scrum off all the way to Ringrose and taking it up. And there weren't a lot of, running lines and clever things happening there, where it was almost like, listen, we've, an old Bok game almost, where we've got this plan A and it's getting some momentum, going through the phases, and eventually something's really just going to open up. And when it didn't, and also I don't think the conditions suit them. I mean, they look to run out of puff there at the end, and the final 20, Japan were playing at a high tempo, and they just couldn't keep up. And it was, it was something amazing to see. And we'll get to that pool a little bit later, but I'm almost concerned that something similar happened to Wales when Australia really turned up the dial there. They looked to be a bit punch drunk and a bit out on their feet. And that's perhaps something we have to be a little bit concerned about. But yeah, I'm with you. They're still in there, and anything can happen. And I suppose you probably don't want to draw them in a quarter final, because it's going to be a hard day's work to try and grind them out and beat them. Cappy, welcome to the show. Welcome on board. We're just quickly going through the groups and trying to analyze who's impressed and who's disappointed. And we've covered A, and I just want to mention into B, and we'll go to Judge for a little bit of a reply after this. But first, Cap, to me, were you a bit disappointed in what Italy have brought to the party? Maybe hoping they'd press in New Zealand or South Africa. Obviously, they still got the New Zealand in the bag, but or is this just we couldn't have expected anything more, and it's been easy going? And then also maybe touch on Pool A if you want, in terms of what you think of Ireland and their chances of going any further.
Hi guys, sorry that I'm late. Sorry, I missed the first part of your question there. Mine, if you can just ask me again what you wanted to know there.
Just were a bit disappointed to what Italy have brought to the party in terms of perhaps being a third challenger in that pool. Where we've seen some of the group of death and those kind of guys and even that island pool where we've seen some competition and Italy look at this stage like they've just pretty much gone belly up.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised, especially when, obviously when the Boks played them, because I was very impressed with them with the first 2 games they played. Although I think I mentioned to you one day when we were chatting that they are playing second-tier teams, so you'd expect them to look good. So the real test is going to come when they obviously, when they have to play us. And I was pleasantly surprised at the scoreline. I don't think the Boks played as well as the scoreline might suggest, but I think whatever Russia and them wanted to achieve, according to them in the press conference, they achieved what they wanted to bring some physicality to the game, something that they know they're going to need going further. So, yeah, to answer that question, yes, I was pretty disappointed in the performance they brought against us. I don't think it's going to change much against New Zealand. Against New Zealand. Yeah. So I think it's a done deal. What's happened? What's happened in pool in our pool, and then coming back to the pool A. I mean, wow, Japan is just surprising everybody game after game, and I mean, as much as I am hoping for them to obviously do it against Scotland, which I believe they will. It's becoming a bit of a daunting prospect to know that we will then face them. But then again, I asked someone today, if you've got Ireland and you've got Japan, you'd probably still want to play Japan rather, even though they are, just getting better and better. I mean, the thing that surprised me the most against Samoa, and I picked it up when they played Ireland, but it was just more evident in the Samoa game, was the physicality that the Japs brought. I mean, jeepers, the Japan Samoa game has been the test of the World Cup so far. That's just my opinion. I thought it was a hell of a game from both sides, but just that physicality the Japs brought and the desire to get that bonus point at the end. I mean, that was a game, to be remembered at this stage. For me, it's the standout game so far.
Cool, thanks. Judge, onto that one, you're a little bit disappointed in what Italy's brought to the party in terms of making it really an easy 1-2 and not perhaps being in the mix. We obviously know they've got the All Black game still to come, but thus far it's not looking great. And then perhaps move straight on to C with Wales and Oz, eh? C? No. C, England and Aussies.
Judge, you're on mute.
Sorry, gentlemen, my fault. Twice in one night, eh? I've been recently impressed with Italy. I thought they're pretty handy, but they did fold against us, and I just hope they can put something against the Kiwis and sort it out. But the truth is, they got off to a great start. They shot to the lead, and you kind of got a little bit swung by the fact that they had more log points, and that if we slipped up against them, that we would actually be in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, I think they got some really class players. I thought tactically what they wanted to do against South Africa was a great shout. I think that it all unraveled very quickly when the Beast was smashing them to pieces, and the front row was smashing them to pieces up front. They didn't expect to be absolutely dominated that badly, and then obviously the card was a massive shot, and that's their own fault. So I think if they had an opportunity to be in the game and sort of work with their game plan and work against us as much as they wanted to, I think it would have been a different story. But for a change, we actually, we put the hammer down and we sorted it out. And it's testament to what Russie's brought and how the guys are feeling and how they're focused on the game. We're starting to respect teams other than the big three, and we are properly in quarterfinal mode, knockout mode, and getting ready. So I'm interested to see how tomorrow comes. what they show tomorrow. I think that's key. I think when you discussing Pool C, I think the big thing was the pool of depth for us. But the RGs haven't pitched up. I think they've made a couple of interesting calls from a squad point of view, but also from a matchday 23 point of view. I think England are way too strong up there. I think they're very, very balanced. I think they've got some great options, and they set France are going to go through. It's going to be England 1 and France 2. Argentina are going to be licking their wounds, and they always pitch up at a World Cup. They just haven't this year, which it's kind of disappointing because for the neutral we wanted to see a little bit of spice there, and I just think I think England are going to be really tough to beat. I think France as well, and they're not in our. We'll meet either one of them in the final if we make it and if they make it. So we're lucky enough to miss them along the way. No, we could beat them in the semi-final. Sorry, my fault. But I think that's important, and I'm gonna touch on Pool D quickly. I think Australia Wales pretty much sorted. I don't see Wales not making it, and neither do I see Australia missing out. I think Australia are a great World Cup squad. I think they're a great knockout mentality squad. I also think they've got a little bit more balance. I'm going to say something I didn't mention it last week, but I think when they started Guinea and they started Haylett Petty, Guinea at 9 and Haylett Petty at 15 last week against Wales. Like, I'm going to throw a spanner, but I think that they were resting White and Beale for later on in the tournament. They pretty much guaranteed to go all the way through to the knockouts, and I think they were resting their big name players.
Okay, Judge. I think personally they thought Foley was a big name player, and then he just completely sucked. So I don't know they were resting anyone on the fly-off front. Jock, just for you, were you a bit disappointed with Argentina in their showing in this World Cup thus far? And then looking at England and France, do you think they have the game to progress further, or is the quarterfinal as far as they can go?
I must say, I actually told someone yesterday, it's the first time in my life I actually felt sorry for someone getting a red card the way they got it. And unfortunately, it was an outright red card. There was no debate in that. It's just a pity that it happened because I think, obviously, if they had a full team on the park, it would have been a better game. Losing Lavanini is huge. So, it's one of those things that happened, and, they got to move on. Before the World Cup, unfortunately, I don't know why, but I developed a bit of I don't want to just say hate relationship for Argentina. So I wasn't keen on seeing them getting to the quarters. I've been punting France to make it with England, obviously, and I think it's still going to happen. But yeah, who knows? It's interesting when you look at the pools, except for our pool, that the points are very close still. And France also, obviously, they were very lucky yesterday against Tonga. That I think that would have derailed everything for them. So I still think they the better horse, if I can call it that, against Argentina at this stage to go through.
And then just on Pool D there, Jock, as you expected with Australia and Wales and Fiji not really contending there for a possible, steal in, and also do you see either Australia or Wales going further than the quarters?
Yeah, I think Fiji's only got themselves to blame, especially for that game against, was it Uruguay? Obviously, they didn't. I think they didn't expect what was coming their way and made 10 changes to their team and ultimately cost them. Because we saw how good they were against Australia in that first match. So yeah, they. Can you hear me? Anyway, yeah. So that to me is also, that's just a 2-horse race. Obviously, like you said, Australia and Wales should be going through. Wales probably I think Wales is, if there's one of the two teams going further than the quarters, I'd go with Wales at the moment. I'm not fully convinced about Australia. Although there's one or two guys that are looking very good in that team, but I don't know. It depends who they come up against, and but I think Wales. I'd rather put my money on Wales at this stage to go further than the quarters. But I'm not convinced about Australia 100%. I don't think they know either. Like you guys were speaking about Foley. I mean, yeah, it's for me. I think Matt Tumua looks like the guy that's got to go there. That's just my opinion. He looks very good at this stage out of the options they have, but I think Chaika's going to stick to his guns.
Sean, let's call it semi-finalists. Who they're going to be?
Yo, that's a big shot. I'll be honest. I can't look past Australia. I really feel like I think Australia in terms of World Cups and knockouts, and I think the questions that were answered in the previous game, I think kind of show where they're going to go. So I think the Aussies are going to make the quarters. I think South Africa are going to make, the semis. I think you asked for semis, right?
Yeah.
I think the Boks are going to make the semis. I think New Zealand, and I'm trying to figure out what else is cracking. If it works out right,
probably a Wales France quarter.
Yeah, so it's going to be Australia. England is going to be one of the top quarterfinals to watch, definitely. And I think that's going to be quite tight. I actually didn't realize that it's difficult to call that. I think England are very settled. I think Australia are still very much finding themselves, but I think they've got a different type of dog about them, and so that'll be quite a tight one to call. And I think Wales maybe in the semis, but I still think Southern Hemisphere is going to dominate a lot more than people like to believe.
Cappy, your fall?
I'm backing the Boks still all the way. I don't know why, and don't ask me why, because I can't give you an answer, but I've got a feeling. Look, I think the All Blacks will get it, will make it to the semi-final, but yes, I don't know. I've got a feeling something's going to happen. I don't know why. There's just the whole time I get this feeling about the All Blacks slipping up somewhere along the line when it matters most. It will be nice, as everyone has said, All Blacks Boks final, but for me, semi-finalists, Boks, All Blacks, England, and you said it's going to be a Wales, France.
Wales, France.
I think Wales will do it against. Not Wales. Yeah, Wales. Sorry, will do it against France. So that would be my 4 semi-finalists.
Okay, guys. Before we speak on the Boks, both what happened and what's coming, I want to do like a quick round with you guys. I'm absolutely flying in Super Brew. I think I've got some crunch games coming on, so I'm gonna ask you guys to give me the predictions here. So what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna give you a game. Tell me who's gonna win it, and just a sentence on why. Sean, I'm gonna start you off. England, France.
England, I think they are in a better space up front, and I think their 9-10-12 option is a little bit tighter. I think France will put up a bit of resistance, but I think they know that they get a point out of that, and they make the quarters. So I think England are going to try and push through and make a statement. England by 9.
Chalk.
Okay. I've got England by
Chalk. Same one.
England by 15.
Okay, cool. Your big one, yeah. I've saved it for you specifically. Namibia, Canada.
Namibia by, I think I said, where is that? Namibia by 6.
Sean.
I tell you, if they play against Canada the way they played against New Zealand, and I feel Namibia would have picked this game to get their win. I'm with you. Namibia by 6. It's a hard shot, but I'd love them to do it.
I just wanna say, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but to me, Canada is probably the what's the word? I don't want to use something bad, but I think they're the worst showing in the World Cup for me out of all the teams that I've seen. I don't know what it is. It's the first time, I mean, they've always been a second-tier nation, but but this year's showing is just I don't know what's happened there. They just don't look good at all.
They've been unraveling for a few months now. Like I watched them in the America's Rugby Championship, and I watched them in the PNC, and they've been struggling. There's been a little bit of politics at home with a couple of the pro contracts being taken away and a couple of other things. So it hasn't been great for them in terms of a sports as a whole. And I think it's been long enough now that it's flowing into their 15s game. But the bonus is I reckon they could possibly right it a little bit by having a couple of sides in the Major League Rugby tournaments. But it was too soon. I think they just joined this year, and the Canada side. So so it's a bit of a tight one. But I think they're still very much in limbo, and I think there's a lot of other things on their mind.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Judge, USA Tonga.
I'm gonna go with the USA. I think the boys will. It's going to be a tough one. I think up front they're going to struggle. I do. That's the weird thing is I feel they're going to struggle up front against Tonga, but I think that they'll have more structure to hopefully make inroads. And obviously you want Marcy and the boys to do well, and Gary Gold and the guys and the South Africans there. So it's a little bit more of a swing vote because there's more South Africans in the mix. But I'm going to go USA 5.
I'm worried about all these hard picks. Hard picks aren't helping me on Super Brew, man. It's like
I'm not a betting man, bro. So I'm in the clear. I can say this with a clear conscience.
Jock, your thoughts? USA Tonga. I've also somehow, actually, the bookies have got this one priced up. I think it's about 15 to 10 on USA. They're decent outsiders, but I've almost got this sneaky feeling that USA. They really want this one and they're eyeing it. Your thoughts, Jock?
Yeah, this was the toughest pick for me out of this next round, and eventually I went with Tonga by 6 because of I think if they can deliver another game like they did against France, then USA's got some problems coming their way. I know there's a big South African influence, but yeah, unfortunately, Super Brew doesn't come down to that.
Okay, cool. So before I go to the big one that we can chat on a little bit more, just quickly, Wales, Fiji, you think there's any chance of Fiji kicking on from that second half they put in and surprising the guys from the north? Cappy, for you?
No, I think Wales will. I haven't gone very big on this game, actually. I've backed Wales. I don't know why, but I've gone Wales by 12 for some weird reason. So don't ask me why. But yeah, I mean that Fiji game was really something to behold. But I think Wales will, at the end of the day, they'll pull it off. And I think a lot of these teams in this pool stages, all they're playing for at the moment is getting the bonus point and the win. Boom. It's not all of them are going guns blazing like the All Blacks.
Judge?
Shit. What's Wales and Fiji?
Wales, Fiji.
Sorry. I think it's going to be interesting. I think Wales are they also want to kick on a little bit, but I think Fiji. The thing is Fiji pre-World Cup, like they've fixed their pack. They're really looking good. Their set piece is nice, and they've obviously got so much fire outside. It's frightening. And I think that Uruguay thing really derailed them mentally more than anything else. And I think they took so long to get back in the mix. I think, they're going to be fighting really hard now. I do think Wales are going to be a bit too much. I think if Fiji are in the mix, they can stay in the mix for a long time. I think if Wales get on top early, I think Fiji might fold and maybe show a little glimpse here and there. But I think mentally they're might struggle a little bit. And it's tough for the Fijians to play for pride. They're a very proud nation and everything, but they want to play for something. And I think Wales want to play for a little bit more. And I think they're going to be very methodical. I think they understand what Fiji will bring, and I think they might just wear them down and try and sort of take away all their chances.
Yeah, I actually have this. I'm with you on that one. I think if Fiji are in it after an hour, 60 minutes, then there's trouble for Wales. They can kick and spark a try or two, and all of a sudden you're going to struggle playing catch up against them, because it's almost like it just keeps getting worse if you try and force it against them. So to me, Wales need to not fall in the trap. Keep it as tight as possible. Keep it simple, and just edge out the win, and just muscle their way away from them, and do it that way. They don't want to get the fans involved and get some crazy tries running in, and then panic could set in. Okay, guys, let's discuss the big one here. Everyone's talking about it. It's Japan have shocked the world. They've beaten Ireland. They clearly in it for the quarterfinals, and something that we didn't call. We were all talking about this game as possibly the one that Japan could win and sneak in, and now they've actually got the possibility of topping their pool. No one saw that coming. Jock, let's start with you. How do you see this? Is it a fairy tale almost to an end, Japan coming unstuck in the big one? Or do you think they win this, top the pool, and live to fight another day, and probably set up something that'll be a dream for the organizers, playing the Boks there in a quarterfinal?
I'm sticking with Japan. I think they're gonna do it. For me, it's basically, I think they found the secret. For them, it's being as physical as possible. And I mean, if they can do what they did against Ireland, then I think Scotland's gonna really feel it even worse. I could be wrong, obviously, but I think that's gonna be Japan's game. It's playing the physical game. There's no other option for them. And I think they've got the firepower for it. I've gone Japan by 9 on this. Now I'm backing them all the way, and obviously I think part of the reason I'm backing them is it would be nice to see them play against us in the quarterfinal, but more so I think it would be judges not agreeing. I don't know why, but I prefer Yeah, no, I'm also I'm getting scared by the moment. Every game that passes by, they worry me. But I still think more. I'd rather want the All Blacks to play Ireland, because I think that could be maybe that little shocker that I told you guys about. I mean, imagine the All Blacks out in the quarterfinals. Goodness me. I mean, I think everybody's gonna forget about Japan suddenly. But no, I'm backing Japan all the way in this game. I can't see any other result.
Judge, Brave Blossoms for you?
But
or Flower
it's
Scotland?
I'm going to sit in the fence. It's such a tight one. And I tell you, I don't know when last Japan ever went into playing a tier 1 nation and being favourites, firstly. The bonus is they're playing at home. They've got the World Cup. They've got everyone behind them. They're incredible at the moment. And I think Scotland are struggling to come right. So, I don't think Scotland have turned up at all this World Cup, which is a bit of a concern. So do they have what it takes to really to do it, to fight against everything that's happening and kick on? I think where Japan are doing so well at the moment, and it all settles down, and as a backline player, it burns. The forwards are doing so well. They have the top 5 for the Japanese are pretty competitive. I wouldn't say they're the best, but they're very competitive. They miss very few tackles, and they do well in the set pieces. And their loose trio are up there with one of the top 3-4 in the world. They've got a really, really good set, a really good combination together. Individuals, you would I don't know, but when they play together, they really do well. So that's what's really good. Utamura at 10, very handy, very settled. He looks as calm as anything, does whatever he wants. And they got a South African youngster, Kotaro Matsushima, playing out back, who's really, his numbers are incredible. They're really, really, really good. So we're going to claim him as much as we can. I think, They've got like a really good side, and they've got a good belief. And the nice thing is they've got good squad balance, and I think they're the epitome of a side that plays together well as a team. And they're playing on home soil and everything, so it's going to be a bit of a tough one. It's difficult to walk away from the Scots because they're a tier one and I had the conversation last week, but I would love to see Japan win. I think they're very methodical, and I think that's something that we haven't seen from a tier two nation in a long time. Like, I think they really go through the motions very, very well, and they've learned to play a little bit. They've learned to play a little bit of what's in front of you rugby, where 5-10 years ago they were like, if you're in your 22, you do this. If you're over here, you do this. Where now they're starting to like sort of look up and go, hang on a second, I've got a gap, I've got an overlap, let's run it. So I think they're a lot more dangerous than a tier two title will give them. And I'm going to go for Japan for the win.
Yeah, okay. I must say, a week ago, I thought Scotland would cruise into this one. The only issue I have is that Japan have been preparing for this from the start, I think. And as you said, they've got a game plan that they understand and that they can pretty much perfect at this stage, playing the fast game, running people off their feet. And those last 20, it's always tough for any team against the Japs because the high pace. And I think they're almost the only team that can keep it up at that level. And what they have improved is some of their set phases where they know how to get the quick hook and they know how to at least stay in the battle so they don't just get absolutely dominated in those aspects. So no, they definitely, and they've got some great players or very handy players in there as well. So no, it's definitely their runner, but at the end of the day, you just have to look again at Finn Russell and Hogg, and you got to think, I'm probably going to err on the side of caution there and go for the Scots. But of all the momentum and all the buzz and 95% of the world rugby watching, world punting and supporting Japan, it's going to be massive. It's going to be incredible. Just a quick one. I don't want to talk betting, but I've seen some comments on the side. And guys, you can give me 500 to 1 on Japan making it to the final. It's not going to happen. Never, ever, ever in this lifetime. You can forget about it. Quarterfinal is the best they can do. So don't worry about any price there, lads.
Can I just ask
guys,
a question?
Yeah.
I just quickly wanted to know. I've been trying to find out what is the deal with Lapis taking over the captaincy. Is this a permanent thing? Because as far as I know, Leach is the Japanese World Cup captain, but I see Lapis was the captain against Samoa with Leach starting. Any of you know anything about this?
So I don't think Leach started against Japan. I'll double check. I think he came on very, very early off the bench. I think he came on after 20 minutes. Lapis captained them. Japan have had like a Japanese A side that has been running a hell of a lot through this year, where Lapis was captaining them before he actually was eligible to play. He was playing for them because they were non-test games and stuff. So he's definitely like their leadership setup is amazing. And Lapis is their captain when Leach doesn't start. Like that's the way it works out. But if I'm not mistaken, during that game there was an injury in the first 20 minutes and Leach came on and Lapis stayed captain.
No, the previous game Leach did start and Lapis was still the captain, but I think they just they just kept the continuity going there. I think Lapis captained in the previous game, and that was when Leach wasn't there, and then they just decided, well, he captained them to an incredible victory. So they're just gonna keep the momentum going, and I think the other thing is they're not sure that Leach is gonna last the 80. I think Leach will probably be the guy who gets sub perhaps or Emino or whoever's playing in the other loose forward position, Amanaki, Murphy, whoever. Then whilst they're sure that Lapis is going to be the 80-minute, and I think that's also why they've opted to say, okay, listen, Lapis, you just you keep the reins for that. So I think that's but as Sean said, I mean, it's a pretty incredible leadership structure to be able to have that, and it's still almost like a football team where I think Leach is the club captain and he's the captain off the field and in the everything else, but it's just Lapis does the leading on the field there for them. Guys, just a quick question before we focus on the box exclusively. We don't want to talk about this week in and week out, I suppose, but let's just focus on something specific, and that's the high tackles and the straight to the head kind of hit. Do you guys think it's been called decently? Do you think there's something, is the rule fine at the moment, or have you guys got any comments, especially guys dipping into tackles? Is it fair to be yellow carding those guys or considering red cards? Okay, usually yellow because the mitigating is the ducking. Sean, I'll start you off on that one. Just a quick your thoughts around the high tackle specifically.
The law's very clear. Like, if you make contact with the head, then it's almost going to be a red card exclusively. And if the ref and the TMO have a bad day, then you get off. I think the big thing is about, like, everyone is so anti Owen Farrell, and they're like, he deserved it. And the bottom line is Lavanini's hit on him was not going to be anything else but a red card. It doesn't matter who it was against. And the fact that Farrell did something similar against USA it's an official's problem. The referees are not picking it up. And the truth is very, very few people picked it up in the game as it is. So we're getting stills at the moment, and like, oh, but he does this. I'm not in the game of in the game of retribution. You're like, oh, but he did it to someone else, so he deserved it. Like, that doesn't fly that way, because when it happens to us, and everyone wants to play the hard done by card. So I think if there's contact, I think when things are slow, I think we're still trying to work through how we manage that thing. Like, we've got the law, and how we work through it with the slow-mo and this and that is very challenging. I think there's a little bit more to it, but the truth is, when you see a guy's shoulder smash a guy's jaw, it's going to leave a mark, and that's what they're trying to take away. And I don't have a problem with it. I think when you want to make a dominant hit, you want to hit higher, and you want to make sure that your shoulder hits him in his chest or on the ball. And if you get it slightly wrong, it looks like it smashes him in the cheek, and that's, you've got to take your medicine. And it's a tough one. So it's going to maybe bring a guy to tackle lower and double tackle to create that dominant tackle. And then there's going to be an overlap, and we're going to have to try and fix it elsewhere in defense. But I think those high hits are questionable, and they are dangerous. There's no doubt about it. I don't care who it happens against, it's dangerous. And I don't care if you like Owen Farrell or not, but if he was unconscious on the field for 15 minutes and was taken off, everyone would reevaluate their opinion about it.
Listen, I mean, I'm almost more specifically talking about like the New Zealand kind of cards there, where especially that second one, it was almost a Namibian basically falling to the ground, and it's exactly as you said. You basically stealing yourself for a dominant hit that's going to be around the chest, and as soon as your head goes down, you're not looking at where the player is anymore, and by the time you make the hit, it's straight to the jaw. So as you said, it's pretty clear cut as the laws say. It's direct contact, and then they go to mitigating. But I just think, as you say, it's eventually going to lead to something. But is a World Cup the place to try and teach people to eventually go to a different method? That's the only concern I have, is that yes, we're going to get to them adapting to something, but it's a bit of hard lines, as I said, where there's not a lot you can do about it at the moment. Jock, what your thoughts on it?
Look, I think I agree a lot with what Sean said, but like what happened yesterday, I saw there was quite a uproar on Twitter about it, and it's how do you make a call? I think at the end of the day, like Sean says, it's a clear-cut law. As soon as you touch the head, it's tickets. So if a player loses his footing and he's falling, and you obviously committed to the tackle, it's one of those things that happen. And I also don't agree, that a guy should be penalized. I see someone on the side here mentioned that when something like that happens, maybe the maximum should be a yellow card and not a red. But there's so many variables of what could happen. I mean, what if you take a guy's head off properly? What if he's knocked out cold or something? Even worse. So it's difficult, and I don't know how they're gonna. I think that at the end of the day, the biggest issue with cards and penalties and stuff being given is the the inconsistency between officials. It's this guy judges something like this, and the next guy judges this completely differently. And that, to me personally, is the biggest issue I have with officials. Is that from the one guy to the next, it's not the same. It's almost like they've got different law books, for each official, or maybe some of them don't understand the law correct. I don't know what, but like the famous word that always comes to the party is interpretation. And I don't think there should be different interpretations. If the law says something, it needs to be very clear and to the point, bottom line. And that's where I think World Rugby needs to relook a lot of laws.
Yeah, the big thing for me is I'm just concerned that we're getting to a stage where it's almost like football. As soon as the ball moves into the penalty box, everyone's just appealing and everyone's taking a dive, and it's almost getting that way in rugby, where as soon as there's a hit, everyone's almost shouting, that's a high hit, that's been this and that's been that, and it's a bit of a sad state, when you get to that kind of thing where you're hoping to play against 14 or 13 or whatever. So, but as I definitely agree with you guys, consistency is the big thing then. And I think that the bar's been set by the referees, though. That's the good thing about it, is that we aren't at the quarterfinals yet. We haven't really seen big games being determined by this or whatever. So everyone knows, what the standard is, and you got to make sure that you keep it low enough. And as Sean said, you can almost risk it if you want to keep on making dominant tackles and say, listen, that's our game, but then you're going to take the consequences if you get it slightly wrong, and that's the way it's going to be. Judge, anything else from you on that?
Yeah, like there's quite a few comments in terms of how to manage the red card. Like, does it spoil the game? It spoils the games. Like, it does, but it's not the referee's fault. It's your fault. If we start compromising on when foul play gets ruled out so you can make it an even contest so everyone can be happy with watching it, then it kind of changes things up. I've played against, we could all name like 3-4 sides that we would never ever want to play rugby against again because they're filthy and dangerous. And you're saying that they can do that and then still have 15 players on the field and then win the game, but it's cool. It's in the good of the game and everyone is happy. Doesn't fly with me. Like, the thing is World Rugby are trying to be proactive and try and sort this out, and proactive in a way in that there have been some issues of recently and also some in the past in terms of head injuries and deaths and paralysis and a whole bunch of stuff. They're trying to be proactive and everyone's trying to fight against it and say it's turning soft, but you put yourself in that guy's shoes and you're in trouble. You'd wish they had been a little bit more proactive. So if we're going to influence and make those decisions during the World Cup, more people are watching, more people are aware. You actually blanket everybody and everyone knows the rules. So when you make that call in a club rugby game, no one can moan about it. Like, that's the pro side of it. It spoils our game, yes. To be fair, there's been a few cards that should have been red. There's never been a red card that shouldn't have been anything else. So if anything, guys have been getting away with it already. We can't feel too hard done by that we've been robbed. The red cards are red cards. There's no shadow of doubt.
I just want to add something, yeah, and it's something that Sean and I tend to speak about off air quite a lot when we do speak to each other. Is the fact that, and I actually want to throw a question out there: is how do you guys feel about the way that it seems like the All Blacks? And I don't want to say that I'm on this bandwagon, but it does seem like there is a complete difference of treatment towards them in regards to the rest of the teams currently in the World Cup, for argument's sake. I mean, Kieran Reid was cited for something that other guys got banned for and stuff, and he got away with it. It's things like that that make people start ask questions. So I just want to ask you your guys' opinion on this. I haven't had a chance to to speak to Sean about it yet, but it's something that's out there. And one of the things that really made me think about it was what happened in our game against Italy when Dwayne got basically tipped over and drilled into the ground. I mean, for me, I think the ref could have at least, well, he sent the one guy off for red and the other guy stayed on the park. I mean, that guy, if he didn't want to send him off, he could have at least given him a yellow card. At the end of the day, he was, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, number 17 was the guy that should have gotten the red card and not number 1 as the first offender. But anyway, again, they look at things differently that we do. They don't always have the facilities that we do and stuff. But I just want to know what your feeling is in regards to, do you guys also feel that the All Blacks are being treated differently when it comes to punishment?
So there's two things here. We need to separate. One, was the right decision made? Yes, it was. Okay, so that's the first thing. If we want to moan about consistency about guys not getting the cards, that's a different story. It's not a law problem. That's an official's problem. So when they get the decisions right, don't moan about it. Don't moan about the fact that, oh, but what about that guy? What about that guy? Absolutely. It doesn't change the fact that that instant there and then was a red card. So that's the first thing I want to say. Secondly, the way I feel about the way that Dwayne Vermeulen was dumped by the two Italians, I actually feel that the ref got it right. I think the one guy lifted, okay, which is not illegal. The other guy was then doing the twisting and the dumping. And that's where I think that they got it right, that the red card was correct. I think the other guy maybe could have got a yellow, but I don't think he should have got a red as well. He did the lifting. He didn't do the turning and the driving. The other guy was all on the top side of Dwayne that picked him up and did the driving. So the other guy was holding on to him, and just the nature of the beast was doing it. He didn't do the driving. If you ever look at it slowly, that's the way I see it. And I think that they got it right. I think that red card was absolutely justified. I think the other guy could maybe have got a yellow, but the fact that he didn't, I can understand why. Because he did the lifting, he didn't do the tipping and the driving. And that's like a mitigating factor and everything. And it's quite interesting. But I believe that if he lifted him and he was the only man there, there's a chance that he didn't turn him and drive him. Whether he would or not is a different story. There's opportunity for him to not have done it, and I think that was good enough to not make it a red card for him.
Listen, I think on that tackle, it's a bit of a exaggeration there on everyone's part. I mean, you can understand. I 100% knew the ref was going to go for one of the two players. It's a difficult situation where it almost never happens, and it never happened before, where two guys are going to get for one tackle. You'll have one incident, one fight kind of thing where you'll have two people, but not for one tackle. So he had to pick a guilty party, and I think he did it well. He picked one, gave him a red, and said, the others can be sorted out afterwards. And I'm 100% happy with that. We had the advantage of being able to play with against one less for a significant amount of time. So I mean, we got enough benefit out of that. To me, there's nothing much in that. Onto the All Black thing, obviously they caught up against Namibia, so it was pretty nicely done for them. They got a few cards in there, so they'll balance the books. It was a good decision. I don't really buy too much into this whole favoritism of New Zealand. I think if you're a dominant team over a period of time, I mean, I know from maybe from umpiring and things like that, subconsciously a dominant team, it's almost like one with good manners. You just kind of get like the 50-50s going your way, and I don't have a significant issue with that on the field. The big thing for me is, I think it almost comes in with some of the rules, like Richie McCaw coming in from the side, that kind of thing. To me, that's adapting on the day kind of call. So I won't moan about that. You should be adapting after 20 minutes if you see, listen, this ref is taking a little bit longer to blow holding on, so let's hold on to it, or he's on it quickly, let's do it, or offside, he's not as sharp, so let's push up a little bit. Those are things you adapt to. The thing in the sanctions afterwards, maybe it's a little bit of money talks, and whoever's producing the biggest funds get a little bit of a rub of the green. But I mean, we've got a transparent system. Guys like Stefan de Blanche are involved, and it's a pretty equal panel and things like that. So it's hard to argue with the system and saying that certain people get preferential treatment. And I do think at times we are verging on playing the victim a bit too often, and we should just roll up our sleeves and play bloody rugby and stop trying to moan beforehand and afterwards on any media platform. Guys, unless there's something else, I'd like to go on to the box specifically on there. Just on the Italy performance, do you guys think we ticked a lot of boxes that perhaps was an issue early on? Yellow Cap, maybe let's start with you. Billy's still a concern, Faf, Pollard, those kind of things, or do you think we've answered those and Rassi's sleeping comfortably at this stage?
No, I don't think so. I think you might not be saying it in the media at this stage, and I think I tweeted it on Friday when the Bok game was on, that it's time that journalists that are in the press conferences start actually asking the hard questions and not, the run-of-the-mill kind of questions. I want to, they are there as a voice for, I think, the fans and supporters, and obviously to write newspapers and stuff. And for me, hard questions need to be asked. I mean, Vali has been having, he's not been having a great season, whether it was with the Boks or not. It's probably one of his worst seasons he's having, and it's now showing, unfortunately, in the box setup where it matters most. Faf seems to be struggling. It's obviously he's not kicking out of choice, but it must be part of the game plan because he's keeping on with it. And I suppose hopefully by the time when it matters most, it will come right. But yeah, I'm a bit worried there. Pollard I'm a bit worried about Pollard. I don't know what's going on there with his goal kicking at the moment. But in a way, I'm still like, it's okay. I think somewhere it will click again. I think we've seen this from him before in the past, and he sorted it out. But yeah, I think I wouldn't say Italy ticked a hell of a lot of boxes, apart from what Rassi mentioned post-match, that one of the things that they wanted to do was get the physicality up, because it's something that's going to become very important going into the knockout phases and stuff. So I think that's probably the main thing that got ticked at this stage. But if there's concern around some players, then definitely there is. And the fact that, yes, I know he needs game time, but the fact that Willems has been put in straight away, into the fullback position for tomorrow's game, already tells me that Rassi is concerned about that position. And I, for one, really, really hope that Damien, Willems can have the game of his life in a Bok jersey tomorrow. Because that might just be what we need at this stage of the game. Because for me, sorry, Villiers not the guy at the moment. That's my 5 cents.
We'll talk on a few of the selections for tomorrow's game as our last point there. Sean, to me, a lot of people were building up this Italy game and saying the Boks shouldn't take their eye off the prize there, and they'll push us all the way. We end up winning it by 40 plus. They can't get a score, 7 tries to 0, and now it seems like everyone's still finding something to moan about. To me, it's job done and done with a plum. Your thoughts, and do you think there's still some issues that haven't been resolved at this stage?
I still have the same issues I had pre-World Cup. I've constantly had an issue with Faf and Vili, especially this season. And I think Pollard, the thing that keeps Pollard there's 2 things, is the fact that he's experienced, and the fact that he manages a game very well to start a test match. So in terms of how he manages it is good. His passing is average. I mean, people hate it, but Damien Delaney's got a better pass than Andre Pollard. Now, everyone hates Damien Delaney, but they all love Andre Pollard. Like, that's got to say something. And if you look in our last game that we played, Pollard had a skip pass. He had a run and jump and popped a loopy. And like, you don't expect that out of your 10. He doesn't hit his targets, and same with Faf. He doesn't hit his targets. The kicking game is a tactical situation. I think he executes them badly. In Corsi, Mapimpi, and Colby, we have really, really, really good kick chasers. We really do. Like, they are up there with the best in the world. They push up really hard and fast. But if we've got a shit kick, we're not going to do it. So it's frustrating. The spine of our team in the back line is not working for us, and we're getting by purely by other things. And that's namely our wingers and our centers. And the truth is, and people hate it, but that's the truth. Like, and the thing is we want Villy and Faf there because they're experienced-ish. Faf, not as much as Villy, but because they will give you that one piece of awesome, and everyone wants that. The problem is there's 9 pieces of horse cuck coming along the way, and I'd rather have a guy that's going to give me a 7 out of 10 all the time than a guy that gives me a whole bunch of 4s and 1 8. And that's what's frustrating. We're trying to play them into form. And the thing is, we've got a Reinach and a Herschel Jantjies that I believe are both capable of starting a semi-final and a final if need be. How we do it is going to be an interesting story. I'd prefer to start Reinach and then bring Jantjies on. I don't want to burn Jantjies too much. I think he's incredible. I'm just a bit apprehensive now. And it's only because I don't know. That's more where it sits. And I think from a Pollard point of view, we're struggling, and I think at 15 we're struggling. We don't have a better option. Gelant's not great at the moment. Willemse for me is a 10 and not a 15. If you looked at him when he was with the Stormers away at the Jaguares, he was terrible at 15. He looked like he wanted to come off with an injury every 10 seconds. But then when they moved him into 10, his world came about, and he was dominating and playing and running. He's a great 10. I think he carries too much at 10, but I think he wants to play 10 more than 15. And the only way I was going to make the book squad is as a 15 option. There was no way he was going to make it as a 10 option. So it's tough. And we've kind of put ourselves in this position, and we're expecting the guys to work with us. I think 15 is a problem. I think 9 can be fixed because we've got the personnel there. And I think 10 is not such a bad scenario with Jantjies. I know a lot of people love to hate the guy, but he manufactured a decent game against the All Blacks some time back. I think it was All Blacks or Australia, I'm not sure. Like, I don't think he's a bad shot. I think Pollard misses his targets, which is frustrating. Like, misses his targets off the tee lately, which is not his game. But I think he misses his targets passing, which is not ideal.
Listen, Sean, I just have to add one thing there. You told me before the World Cup that Damien Darlende has a great pass. And I told you I think he does, but I haven't seen it for 18 months. So I just want to say I saw it this past weekend. It was a thing of beauty. He had a blinder, I must say. I've always been a fan of how he plays his game. No, especially this one. I think he came into his own this past game. I think I've always said he does a specific job for us, and that's why we can't play without him. But he'd be even more lethal if he can offload out of those situations. And I think this past game we really saw a few more offloads from him, which was pretty special, and it just creates something else outside that we're not used to, which is fantastic. And we'll go into the selection now about maybe seeing him at 13. And I just the big thing why we do see Pollard at 10 and rate him as a decent one is because our alternatives are non-existent. So I'm not going to entertain your Elton Yankees there. I'm sorry, that's a non-runner, it's a non-starter for me. But I hear you. I must say Pollard has some serious deficiencies in his game, and I think actually probably the big factor that does keep him there is his physicality. They do like both on defense and attack. He almost plays ironically as a second inside center instead of us playing a second fly off. We play a second inside center who also takes it up and attacks the line. But as you said, I mean, we've seen both path that All Black game not hitting a target cost us big time, cost us all the momentum. And I definitely hear you on some of those passes of Polly where he finds the touch judge instead of his winger. It's not fantastic. And I mean, we saw the same with Willie. And as you say, to me, it's not necessarily Faf that's that kind of erratic player, but Willie is an absolute 3 or 8 kind of guy. Is nothing in between, and that is super frustrating. I did think he showed a few glimpses, but that beautiful break of his and then he hit it on the shin straight into touch was an absolute Willie moment. I was like, I was like, yes, Willie. No, Willie. No, Willie. So it was, all in one. That was a perfect summary of his game. But yeah, as I said, just in terms of a result, I thought the Boks were better in terms of executing the way they wanted to. And I don't know if I was the only one, but I thought, especially for the first 25, was a lot quicker in terms of getting to the ball and getting it out and upping the tempo, which to me was a good sign. So, but exactly what we said before the tournament is that he isn't going to drop. And Cappy, that's probably where I want to come in. Damian Willems could have a man of the match, score 3 tries, set up another 3, and he's still not going to be fullback for the Boks in the quarterfinals because Rassie didn't have the time and he didn't feel like it's something he's going to do. He had a team, and that's pretty much it. Yes, in certain positions he does have B options, but in those crucial spine kind of ones, Faf is always going to be his 9 as long as he's at 90%. Polly's going to be his 10, and Willie's going to be his 15, and Dwayne's going to be his 8. Those are non-negotiables for him in terms of his spine through his team, and he's going to live and die by it. Even though at this stage, I think most of us thinks his strategy has got a bit of a cough. It's not quite dead yet. So let's hope for the best, guys. If there's nothing else on the past game, I want to look at the selections. Just a few interesting ones. We've seen the B team of Rassie play a lot, but to me, there's a little bit of a different look, obviously necessitated by some injury and that kind of thing, but it's just not the same kind of step up and go kind of team that we've seen play 2 or 3 games. So they might be a bit more stop-startish, this kind of lineup. Just maybe talk on Damien Darlende getting a shot at 13. Obviously, it's the Jesse Creel situation that needs him to do a bit of duty there. And then Nkosi getting a shot at 11 might be a little bit interesting, and a nice run out for Damian Willems. Cappy, what do you think of the team, and who are you looking forward to seeing in a specific position?
I must say I prefer this team to the one that played against Namibia. It's just, I think the guys, I mean, with Skalk Brett's back at hooker, that's to me a better option. Although I think Skalk didn't have a bad game at 8. But I just feel a bit more comfortable. I was a bit worried with the other team. I felt there were a few loopholes there and stuff. Luckily, nothing happened. I mean, it shouldn't have happened, but you never know in this day and age with teams like Japan doing what they are doing at the moment. But I kind of like this team. It's pretty solid if they gel, but obviously there's a few guys that's now come in that hasn't, obviously that with Damien coming in at the back. It's his first game in a long time for the Boks, so it's going to be interesting how he goes. I mean, I know he had a good month with Saracens, so that is going to hopefully pay off for the Boks. Damien Darlende and 13 with Frans Steyn. That is, if that comes off, I don't know how that's gonna. I don't think Rassie is going to change his ideas about at this stage, not after one game. But I think it's going to be a hell of a nice to see Frans Steyn and Darlende next to each other. I mean, 2 big ball carriers. And I think with Damien's style of playing at 13, it's gonna be better. People might love him after this more than they've done before. Nkosi, I'm glad he's getting game time at this stage, but I don't know. I'll wait and see what happens tomorrow. But for me, this team is much more. I feel this is a better settled team than the one that played against Namibia. I don't feel there's any gaps or anything to worry about. And I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm actually a bit worried that I didn't go high enough, but I'll be a little bit conservative.
I don't know about settled with Thomas the Toy, Skalk Brits, Koch playing. That's not his B setup, and Kwacha getting a go at 7, which he hasn't really often gotten. Sean, what do you expect? What you looking forward to seeing?
So just some of those positional things. I have mentioned it before, but of course he made his name at the Sharks at left wing, and that's where he did really well. And then they moved him over, and then they made him into a 14, and he's done really well. And this year, especially, stepped it up, and a bit last year. So I'm glad he's getting some game time, because it was tough for him. Like, it was really one of those stories where he was in the best form he could be, and one of our best options, and Colby was just better. And hats off to Rassie for making that call, because he put all the time and effort into Nkosi starting at 14, and then Colby came in and just basically, shot the lights out. So it's a tough one, and we don't have many options. So moving him to 11, I'd really like to see how he readapts to playing at 11, because I'm a big fan. Like, he was one of the guys that didn't deserve to be dropped, but as mentioned, he got dropped because it was just a no-brainer, and it sucks for him. So I'm glad he's getting some time. Delendi at 13, I read something where Rassie said that he's played 20 minutes here and there in Test match rugby over the past year, and it's obviously been an option. I quite like Damien. I think he's got a bit of pace, and he's got a good pass, as you've seen, which is a first. Well done. It's been a year, but you've seen it. Well done. I quite like him playing there. I'm a bit bummed. I was a bit shocked that when we lost our 13, our second choice 13, that we didn't bring in a 13, because 13 is a massive position on the field. And if Lukhanyo goes down, we are in a lot of trouble. Like, there's a lot of defensive marshalling and a lot of stuff that happens off the ball that a lot of people don't see and don't realize and don't understand with respect. Like, a majority of the fans don't realize how much 13 does from a defensive point of view. So the fact that Delendi's been in the mix and been there for a while and understands his position at 12 and right next to the 13, maybe he can fill it in. But to start and move forward, I'm a little apprehensive. And I just hope that nothing happens to Lukhanyo, because I think he's in such great form, and I think him and DDA have such a good connection at the moment. Like, I wouldn't want to change it. That we've got our wingers scoring such great tries and being put in space, and that doesn't happen when you don't straighten the line. And the line's being straightened at 12 mostly, and then at 13. If you look at the angles that Willie runs, like, he's often running everyone out. So, like, it's quite an interesting space. There's a lot of stuff happening there. So I think it's interesting to see what Damien brings, and I really am looking forward to it, because I'm a big fan, and I don't know what gave it away, but I'm quite happy to see him be there. But we're also playing him into the ground. Like, this was a good opportunity for Damien and Lukhanyo to both be rested and have Stan and Creel start. So that brings another factor, the player management and options for the future. And now we have to load Delendi with more game time so he can learn a new position just in case we need him, is not really where I want to be before the quarterfinals of a World Cup. Like, I'll be very honest with you. I think Willems at fullback, I don't think it's an issue. I think we need to maybe just reel in a little bit with Willie and give him some time and let him chill. And Willemsen needs to get some game time and get in the mix and understand what's happening in case we need him. So I don't have a problem with that. And just to go back on the Italy thing and how we did and the fact that we got by with Faf and Pollard and Willie playing the way they did, is our tight five and our Lucy's dominated, like, from the get-go. And we're not going to have that every single game. And that's where I'm concerned, is Faf and Faf under pressure and the guys pushing up on Willie when he's trying to shoot into second phase is where I'm concerned, because Willie's got this habit of throwing that little like T-Rex ball to somebody and hopefully he hits a man. So that's what I'm a little bit worried about. But tomorrow's going to answer a lot of questions and hopefully not give us too many more.
Yeah, I must say, to me, it was shocking the amount of times Willie got the ball with decent amount of space, and he almost ran straight to his winger and gave it to him, which is, I mean, that's like the exact opposite of what you want. It's one thing saying getting the ball to a winger, it's another thing getting it to him in that kind of situation, cramping all his space and then giving it. And unfortunately, that is something that Willie at times, it's almost like the wheels just don't turn quickly enough for him, and then it just burns out. So that wasn't ideal. I agree with you guys. It's probably Damien Dalendi is a key player. It would be nice resting him. I probably would have liked to have gone with maybe even Geland at outside centre, just so that Damien could take a break, and then obviously you've got Willemse, but still you wouldn't want to play Colby on the wing because we saw him with that stiff groin hammy kind of thing, so they didn't want to chance that, and Mapimpi's played all of them, so it's almost like, we're running out of options. Maybe a Reinach playing on the wing or something like that could have been an option for them. But unfortunately, that's the thing about the World Cup. It is a bigger blow, I think, than we thought. Thought losing Kriel, and to me, it's not about answering any questions. It's about getting through this game again, ticking another one off, and I'm pretty sure the A team and the A squad, and let's not call them the A squad like the bomb squad. They're gonna be up for it and getting ready for the quarters. Guys, any last words before we shut it down for the evening? Anything else there, Cappy?
No, I'm excited for tomorrow's game. I think it's a last chance for maybe a few guys to put up their hand, and just obviously let Rassie know that they are there. So if whatever happens, Rassie doesn't have to stress too much. But I think the guys need to put in a good one tomorrow. And like I said, I think I might have been a bit conservative on my prediction. I think I went box by, just for obviously, I went box by 58, which some probably will think, no, it's not too conservative. But I don't know, for some reason,
Conservative, you
maybe.
say?
I know, but that's why I'm saying. I think it's time that we put up a big one. So maybe tomorrow I can be proved wrong. I mean, my picks haven't been too great. I mean, when I go high, the guys seem to score low, and when I go low, then the guys seem to go high. So I don't know what the hell to do anymore. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game, even though it's against Canada, who I think is not the greatest team in the World Cup. But the Boks need to prove me right in that regard, because if we go 60, I'll go 70 plus, then I think I'll be happy to say that I think I was right about Canada.
Sean, anything to end off from you?
I think we'll win comfortably tomorrow. 56 is nice. I'd like to see us be ruthless for a change. And I think it all comes with the start and managing, and actually just having a boring focus on how we address the game, so we can just gain the momentum and destroy them. I think that would be nice. And I think, I don't care, I don't know who we're playing in the quarters, but we're going to win by 15.
Yeah,
15.
well, next time,
in
the quarters, Jock.
Jeez. I thought we were talking about tomorrow.
Guys, next time we chat, we'll know the quarterfinals finalist is. Oh, so it's going to be good. And I expect the Boks to be relatively dominant, but it's a bit of a makeshift team, so I don't think be unrealistic. And under the roof, it's usually a bit sticky and tough. So I'm not expecting too big of a smashing. Thanks so much, gents, for joining us, and thanks everyone on the chat for your input. And we'll chat again next week.
Thank you very much. Great to see you boys again, and looking forward to it.